Welcome, everybody. It's time for the Tarqaron 10.
Top 10, the 10 of Tarqaron. Tarqaron 10. 10,
Yes.
10 Tarqaron 10. 10.
This
Anyway,
has
yeah.
been a little tradition for us the last few years. We started in 2022, and
hmm
then we've done it 2023, and here we are. This is our top 10 of 2024. So it's important to qualify exactly how our top 10 works. First of all, we each have a top 10, so altogether it's 20 things. There might be some overlap, there might not. We have no idea. We don't know what's on each other's list going into it. Except I know one
Mm.
thing that's on Alex's list, and that's all. But essentially, it's not the criteria isn't that the thing came out in 2024 necessarily. It could be anything that it could be a game we've finished for the first time in 2024. It could be
hmm
a season of TV that we finished for the first time in 2024, or a movie that we watched for the first time in 2024. As long as it meets that criteria, then it can go on the list regardless of when it came out. So naturally, we'll see things that came out in 2024, but you'll see things that came out years and years ago. So it's all a mixed bag. It's basically our experience, our top 10 from our 2024. So, you know, it's a personal list. I don't know if you want to talk about your thinking going into it or anything.
Yeah, so I tried it. It was really tough for me because like I feel like in terms of quality, this year's might be some of the best stuff I've ever like seen.
Mm-hmm.
I will say like it is very dominated by like movies and TV. Some of the best stuff that like my favorites ever, like some of the best stuff that I've ever seen. So it was really difficult for me to like formulate my list. I tried to sort of prioritize instead of it was tough because I think when looking at my list, I think there's maybe only one thing that's on here that in terms of watching is not brand new. At least a movie is not brand new
Hmm.
from this past year.
Well,
Um, which was really tough for me to do because like there were things that I watched earlier this year that are like some of my favorite things ever.
mm-hmm.
We'll get into some of that in honorable mentions when we get to that. Well, we're actually going to save that to the end. Um, but and I'll kind of go into that. I do have like justifications and reasons for why everything's on my list.
Yeah.
At the very least. So yeah, it's just one of those really tough things where it's just like I couldn't I just had a really tough time grappling over numberings and stuff here, but we'll just you have to make a list and you gotta go with it at some point. So
So for me, this was my year that I finished the most things in almost every category. Like I went hard in terms of games. I
whoa.
what was the woe for?
You said because you'd said that's the most you've ever finished in like
Yeah,
almost everything. That's a big deal.
yeah.
Yeah. This you're not screwing. No, it has nothing to do with the quality or anything. No, like that's pretty amazing.
So I finished 31 games. I finished 53 movies and 18 seasons of television. So I'm essentially working
That's
out of a list of like 100 things to narrow down to 10.
mm,
With the TV,
yeah.
my rule has always been that I exclude reality TV from this list, so as not to spoil
Okay.
anything we might go over in the future. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot more limited for shows. Very few non-reality shows actually, but all in all, a ton of stuff to choose from. So it was really hard to narrow down. But it was super stacked. Like if I looked at my last two top 10 lists, and like I feel like my top like 20 or 30, if I had a top 30 list, probably most of those movies would replace like the entire top 10 for some of these other years. Like that's how stacked this year was. It's
Crazy.
because I saw a couple things in previous top 10s. I'm like, wow, that wouldn't even make it like top 30 for me this year. Like it's that tough. But we'll start with number 10. Do you want to kick it off?
Sure. I'll kick it off. I'm actually doing. I know we had said obviously locked in before we started. I actually
Mm-hmm.
just made some minor alterations myself. Now I am officially locked in. So my number 10 is a movie that I watched this year that uh, was not as good as most as movies that I kept off my top 10 list. I will say that, but I do have
Makes
a very
sense.
very specific reason why it's here, and that is the last Naruto the movie.
Oh.
And that's my number 10 slot. I watched this as part of one of our Film Buffs challenges, the most recent one that we did in
Mm-hmm.
September. And the reason that this made my list and it eked out some phenomenal movies that I watched this year, and that I think even some ones we may have watched this year. Well, I don't know. We'll figure that out. Um, this to me was just like it was a personal capstone on a story that uh, I had been basically the thing that got me into anime. Was Naruto. Naruto has always been very very special to me. Warts and all. I know it's not a perfectly told story. It definitely has its problems in terms of how it's presented, both in its original form and in the anime. But um, I this was like really this was wonderful. I really loved this movie. I think it told a very sweet love story, and it did pretty much everything I wanted it to do with the character relationship that it had. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for a series that is mainly just a shonen battle anime to have like its kind of capstone movie of the story be a love story. Yeah, it's obviously has its action and stuff too. It was just very sweet and very nice to kind of have that um sort of culminate the fruition of all the little bits, character bits that had happened throughout the whole series. So I really enjoyed it a lot, and because it was such a like that is such an important show to me. Um, Getting to sort of see, at least to a degree, because to be clear, I have not seen every single episode of Naruto Shippuden. Because there's like the last like arc of that show actually takes place after this. It takes place. That's like the wedding is like the last part of it. So it's like 10 episodes or something, or 11 episodes about that. So I haven't seen those yet because I didn't want to watch those until I watched this. But there's like dubious amounts of the wedding stuff was not ever like that was not part of the manga. So I guess in some cases people may consider that like, oh, it's not canon or it's filler. I think it is technically canon material because I think the author Kishimoto basically gave his blessing to the story there, for those last episodes of the anime. But um, I say in terms of how it sort of helped me sort of like come to a conclusion of the whole story. I thought it was just a very nice way to do it. And kind of everything to me after that is sort of an epilogue. But
Hmm.
this to me, like its title as the last, like this, even though the main story of Naruto is done, this to me is like this is the final story. Like this is like the final main story. Like we have a full completion of a storyline that's carried through since the beginning of the series, basically. So, um, yeah, I really liked it a lot, and it meant a lot to me. So I have to have it on the list, even if it
Okay.
just eked in past a bunch of other stuff that's arguably better
Snubs.
than it is.
Absolute snubs off the
It did
list.
snub.
Yeah, I've still only seen about like 5 episodes of Naruto in my life, so it's still
Wow.
on my list of one to get to.
I've got a filler guide to watch to consult. That's how I
Hmm.
watched it.
I see. I'm the kind of guy. I'll take it all in. I'll take the filler. Like
It's
I'm
500 episodes of
I
just Shippuden.
I know, but I'm too anal about it. Like I need to see everything chronologically.
Some of that is fine. The thing that I would highly recommend not doing, don't watch all of the original Naruto. The filler, because basically everything after episode 135 to episode like 222 or something like that, that's all filler.
Come on, give it to me.
No, it's
If
it's
it's
bad.
ass, then the show
None
is
of it's
ass.
good.
That's
None
the
of it's good.
conclusion.
Yeah, the show is yeah, the show is not good after that period of time. the manga is really good up to
See,
that. But anyway,
because like if I'm skipping the filler, it's like giving a highlight reel, and so that's like I like to
no,
see the
it's the
good and the
canon
bad.
material. It's the canon material.
But they filled this shit up, and that was their
They-
choice, an artistic
yeah, so
choice.
yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Hmm. All right, so my number 10. This is one that I think could be on your list later. Don't say if it is. I
Okay, I
guess if
won't.
I guess if something comes up that we have on our list later, we'll just talk about it fully now, and then
Hmm.
if it does come up, then so be it.
Okay.
Number 10 for me. So surprise last minute entry is Celeste.
Oh, awesome.
Celeste. I just played it like a week ago because I just got it for
Well, I
Christmas.
played it last year,
Oh, that
so I
was
think it
last year.
actually yeah, I think it might have actually been on my list last year.
Oh,
Um,
maybe
yeah.
I got completely mixed
Wonder.
up. I thought that was this
Yeah.
year. Okay.
Nope, it was last year. Uh,
Huh. Okay. Yeah,
yep.
that makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So probably not on your list.
Nope. It's not because I didn't play it this year.
It was,
Wonderful game though.
yeah, yeah, it was really good. It's just like the exact kind of like tight platforming I really like, to where it's challenging enough to where you'll be trying stuff over and over again, but it never gets to the point where like it feels like bad design. It's like always your fault,
Mm,
and it's always something you can improve on, and it makes it super satisfying to actually accomplish get to the next checkpoint or whatever.
yeah.
And it's not one of those games where it's like you have to nail it perfectly or you go all the way back to the beginning. It's like you got like a screen to get past and then you get a checkpoint generally. So it's like
Mm,
you're just getting step by step and you can actually feel the progress coming. And then for people who are crazy and want even harder challenges, there's plenty more options for that as well. So, but it was also pretty cute story to accompany it as well.
yeah. Yeah. I really liked the story a lot. I mean, I think I sort of talked about this last year, but I sort of like how it sort of like complemented the gameplay in a lot of ways. Like overcoming challenges is just like you just gotta climb the mountain. Like you just gotta continue past the you know the things that you had in your past. You can confront them and face them and overcome them.
Hmm.
And then accepting parts of yourself that you don't necessarily that you maybe you're ashamed of, but are things that you can kind of grapple with and overcome and accept as well. So yeah, it's a very good game. like I yeah, I actually really like how it tallies your death count as well,
Right.
which which it basically like is very upfront, but like some death counters in games almost feel like a mark of shame. I think I look back to the fact that I died 240 something times in The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons when
Hmm.
I played that game. My brother always makes fun of me for that because that game is um well, there was no reason for me to have died that many times. I don't know why that happened. I must have just kept running into enemies with like 3 hearts or something. I don't know what was wrong with me, but this game like is very much like no, this is a badge of honor. Like the amount of times that you died is like
You kept
but
trying.
you still kept trying. You still were able to overcome it. Like
Yeah.
um
And by the design of this game, you're like naturally gonna have like way more deaths than other platformers as well.
mm,
Because the fact that you're not going all the way back to the start to get all the way up to the point that you struggle with, it's like no, if you're struggling with this point, you're like right here at this point. So you're like just testing stuff out, dying, like rapidly until you get
yeah.
it. And so it racks up. You get hundreds of deaths in that game.
Hmm. Hmm.
But super satisfying challenge. And I obviously haven't even done all the extra stuff afterwards. And
Oh,
like,
some of it is ridiculously
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling
I think
it'll be too much for me, some of that stuff, but it's like
yeah.
it gives you everything you need. You can have if you want an even harder challenge, you can get that. So
Mm. Yeah, I think I think I may have talked about it even when I talked about playing it, and I may have even talked about it in the review that like I tried to start playing some of the like big final level, and I was playing it for like over an hour, and I was like, man, I have to be getting close. Like I've gone through a bunch of screens now, and I looked up like a guide, and I was like maybe like an eighth of the way through it, and I was
Mm,
like, nope. It's just like, nope. I think I'm done. I'm
yeah,
all set. This game is it's really good though.
yeah. Like
Kudos to people.
I'll take. I'm probably pretty satisfied with where it ends. You know, it's an 8 hour experience about, so it's like nice little experience. But
Music is amazing too.
yeah, but it kind of has like the qualities that I really like in platformers that usually only exist in like their extra challenge levels or something. Like I think of
Mm-hmm.
Mario Wonder. Like
Mm.
it has a lot of the qualities of the very last level that you unlock from like 100%ing everything in that game,
Mm-hmm.
where it actually gets super tough. That's kind of like the energy this game has throughout the whole thing, where it's like tight platforming. You got to utilize every little extra jump and tool in your disposal, and
Mm-hmm.
it's clever design. It's fun. So yeah.
Yeah. It's it's cool because like it is difficult, but there's a lot of like grace that they put in there intentionally too. Um, with coyote time and everything. Having a period where after you still have an ability to jump even after you've already gone off a ledge technically. So there is still some like, yeah, you just, it's like, oh, I mean, some other platforms with maybe a little bit more with more like hardcore precision, it'd almost be too frustrating actually for it to be that way. So there is grace built into it, even though it is still a very challenging, difficult game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, like this is could easily be a super frustrating game if they just like with a lot of these games do, where they just don't have a checkpoint, like, and you
Mm,
have to like nail it all perfectly for like a super long period of time,
yeah.
and then start all over if you die. This one, it's like you get those little notches on your belt, and it's like it makes you more eager to go up because it's not a huge daunting task. It's like you can go piece by piece. But there
Yeah.
you go.
Good stuff. All right. My number 9 is Survivor Micronesia.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this might be the first time a Survivor season's gracing my list, but this is easily the best season of the show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone into, you can watch our whole reaction. I don't need to go into too much detail about it here, but you can watch our whole reaction series on it. We actually were able to watch the first 7, I believe, episodes in person. Um, and maybe it was 9. I'm trying to remember how many.
I think it was 9. Yeah.
9 episodes in person. Um, and it was it was a total delight. I mean, it's a great season. I think starting out, I may have been a little wary about it. I don't remember. I think my feelings were maybe a little tepid to begin with, but overall, it turns into very quickly just a fantastic game of Survivor. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, you want solid reality television. You got it right there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty fantastic season. Survival Pearl Islands was probably my other high point before before this, but this is easily what I would consider like the pinnacle of the show, at least so far, and where we're watching. So
Yeah.
yeah.
If that and that's something. That's one thing that could ever be on the top 10 that we have the most like possible comprehensive coverage of, like literally
Yeah.
hours on just Survivor Micronesia,
Yeah.
hours of content. So
Yeah.
it's like because we got a 15-minute highlight reel of a reaction for every episode, and then we have like 15 plus minute discussion for every episode, and a couple hour review.
Yeah.
And yes, so there's a lot just on that season, but
Mm,
it's great. We both ranked it number one of the first 16 seasons, so
mm,
excellent.
yeah.
Excellent. My number 9 is a movie called Past Lives. Now,
Okay.
you might remember this for 2023. It was kind of had some like uh awards buzz around it. It was nominated for a couple things around the Oscars and things like
Okay.
that.
It sounds sort of familiar, but I'm not sure I know much about it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go too much detail. It's
Okay.
about a couple of people from Korea and kind of how their lives go, like the and it's like a bit of a romance story mixed with some other things, but I just think it's a really well done take on love, and it's really interesting perspective on the whole thing. Like they grew up as childhood friends, and they end up their lives take them separate ways, and it's not like a stereotypical love story type of thing. It's like really tasteful how they handle it. And I think it's really good.
Mm,
So I don't want to go into too much detail. If you want to check it out, it's worth it just to see how it goes.
interesting. So, is it foreign language? So, is it in Korean or is it
No,
English? Okay.
no, it's not. There's parts that are subtitled, but for the most
Okay.
part, it's English. Most of
Okay.
the movie.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like a Korean filmmaker or if it was
Mm-mm.
like a
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not sure actually who made the movie, but
Okay.
most of the movie is set in America. So
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, I am intrigued. I'll have to look at that.
that's one that would be a good review as well. I think
Mm.
if we could review that sometime.
All right. Well, my number 8 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I went and saw this in theaters, and it was it was just a lot of fun. It was just a total delight. Um, I think I think what it was most successful at being was a loving tribute to the era of 20th Century Fox Marvel films while being set in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
There's just tons and tons of like references and cameos and characters showing up in a lot of really fun ways, but at the same time, it also tells like a really good story. Like the overall like plot, it's kind of a what it's sort of whatever. I mean, it's like sort of what you would expect from maybe a multiversal superhero film. That's not really what the movie's about. It's more about the relationship of Deadpool and Wolverine and their relationship with all the people around them. Um, and sort of where they feel like they fit into everything. Um, and it ends up being like actually an extremely heartwarming movie, which
Yeah.
is also simultaneously extremely violent and
Mm-hmm.
vulgar. Um, but it's yeah, it's very good. Like it's sweet, but also like super violent. Um, and extremely funny.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean it was a big highlight for me of the summer getting to go see that. So
And a
um
huge success. Huge,
yeah.
huge
It
movie.
was it was a
Mm-hmm.
huge success. What the highest grossing R-rated film of all time, I think.
Is that
No.
right? It
I
must.
think
Yeah, that
I
must
think
be. Yeah,
yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it made it all close to a billion if not over $1 billion. So that's pretty
mm,
big for
it's big. It's
yeah.
big. Yeah, it has a surprising amount of heart to it for a movie you would think is just, which is for the most part is just a lot of laughs and
Mhm.
and silliness and shenanigans, but there's heart baked in there, and with
Yeah.
the love that it gives for 20th Century Fox and the properties, it's
Cuz
tasteful with how it handles those things, and then the dynamic with Wolverine and Deadpool is really cool. The scene
yeah.
I always that always stands out to me is the one in the car. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
with and Wolverine's speech there is so good.
It
I
is
just
really
love Hugh
good. Yeah.
Jackman in this.
Oh,
It's really
yeah. You can tell that he loves that character so much. Because Hugh
yeah.
Jackman's been in all kinds of stuff, and he's great in like pretty much everything
He's
he's
probably one
in.
of my favorite
But
actors
he's
now. Just he's so likable for me.
yeah,
You know.
but yeah, he just like comes back to like a kind of stupid, silly superhero movie, and he's still bringing it as much heart
Hmm.
as he was bringing to it on day one. So that's pretty great.
A nice shout out to the Greatest Showman as well. As well.
Yeah, yeah, that was That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That was funny.
I had watched Deadpool 2 for the first time this year as well.
Mm,
Uh, because I wanted to be able to watch this too.
hmm.
So, um, I really liked all three Deadpools. Honestly,
Yeah, they're really
I
good.
just think it
It's a good
works really
trilogy.
well. Like
Yeah.
the humor works really well. And I still think back to the first Deadpool is like groundbreaking in terms of like completely spinning the
Yeah.
genre on its head and how
Yo,
you
for
can do
sure.
things.
I was like, wow, this is a superhero movie with pegging in it.
Yeah,
I was like,
in the first scene of Deadpool is so iconic. Like,
oh yeah, that the
yeah,
credits is amazing. Yeah,
and then
and they did a good thing with in the most recent one too, where
they
it's
always
sort of
have
like,
an intro credits thing.
yeah,
Yeah, they did a fun thing with Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool 2, it was more just like the text they put in the credits. Was like the
mhm.
joke.
Mm,
But yeah, absolutely. My
yeah.
number 8 is an MCU movie that
Oh,
did not come out this year.
oh,
It's
okay.
called Black Panther.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
This is
good
also
movie.
from the Film Buffs Challenge, one of the Film Buffs challenges this year. Yeah, I'd never seen the original Black Panther. It's so good. I
Mm,
think it might be my favorite, if not one of my favorites. Well, it's not my favorite Marvel movie because I know at least Infinity War is up there.
mm.
You know, No Way Home's up there, but it's really right up there, especially in terms of like original first time for the superhero on the big screen.
Yeah, it is really good. I really enjoyed watching it when it came out. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I just you know, uh, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, was just a delight. Like
Yeah,
he lights up a room. Like he just seemed like even if it's just on the screen, it's just like he's it was phenomenal and taken way too soon for sure.
absolutely. And I haven't seen Wakanda Forever yet, but I look
Hmm.
forward to checking it out. I just don't know how it can compare to this one, but it's just really good. I love Wakanda, everything they do with that. Like, it's really cool. Like, how they portrayed this region is like so believable, and all the performances are great in that movie. A lot of great
Mm.
actors they got in for this, and fun villain. You know, one of the more enjoyable Marvel villains, I think,
Yeah,
especially for like a
yeah.
one movie stint. Um, I mean, I don't know. I just something about it really hit for me. It quickly was at the top of my list for movies this year, and it's really stayed up there for most of the year. You know, towards the top. Solid.
Yeah, Killmonger is one of I would say is one of the better Marvel villains, at least in the MCU.
Yeah.
Um, because it's kind of like this, like, whoa, he sort of has a point, like in a lot of the things he's saying. Like, you might not necessarily entirely agree with him, but it's like he kind of is like making a point about like the stuff that he's saying, and it's like it's chilling when the bad guy is sort of like persuasive in that way. So
Those are the best. Those are the best villains. Like at least want to
yeah,
understand where they're
hmm,
coming from, not just like I'm evil. I'm
yeah.
doing this for world domination type.
Those can be fun. Those can be fun, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think the ultimately the most memorable villains are the ones that make you think
Yeah,
a
that's the
little bit.
rarefied air of villains. You think of like Marvel villains, Disney villains. The most iconic ones are the ones that have a compelling backstory to them and like some like semi reasonable rationale at least. So,
Mhm.
all right, to number 7.
Cool. My number seven um was a last minute swap in, and that's
Alien.
Alien
Whoa,
that I watched for the most recent Film Buffs challenge as well.
film buffs delivering.
It is big time. I had never, to my great shame, I had never seen this movie.
I
And
still haven't. Yeah.
it is an absolute masterpiece. of a film.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get why I get why everyone's why they've Ridley Scott's tried to capture the magic like three times already, again, over and over again. With was it with Prometheus? He tried to do it again, and then now with Alien Romulus, I think it was also I think a thing he directed. Maybe he didn't direct that one. I don't know. Don't remember. But they're trying to capture that again, that spirit. I only saw Prometheus. Prometheus was the first alien related media I've ever seen. Which is kind of might be kind of wild and or sacrilegious.
I haven't seen
To alien.
any of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, this made me really want to play Alien. The Alien Isolation.
Alien Origin.
Alien, not Alien Origin.
That's the next movie.
No, that's not the next movie. The no, but I just everything about this was like, it's like it's that sort of, it's sort of the same, a lot of the same kind of things that I really liked about The Thing, like a lot of.
Which one? Which thing was that?
Come on, Zach.
You know, the thing.
The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh.
And there's just a lot of like slow tension, a lot of like buildup of tense moments, and you're not necessarily sure like who you can trust. There's like bits of that, but the like drawn out buildup of stuff. The world building in Alien is so great, so cool. Stuff is left completely ambiguous, and I think Prometheus kind of ruined it in a little bit of way. I think I can officially say that now, even though I like Prometheus for being kind of like what it was. But seeing, we didn't really need an explanation for some of the things that happened. This movie, like the space jockey, is kind of the big thing. That's a big mystery that they don't really explain.
Mm-hmm.
And then Prometheus kind of just explains that immediately. It's like, oh, this is what it is. Like in the first like 5 minutes of the movie, and it's like, oh, okay. I kind of like having that. You can kind of ignore, sort of, if you could turn your brain off, you can kind of ignore that Prometheus happens, and that you can kind of still have this chilling thing that like it's a you humans are discovering that there's stuff that they have no idea. The universe is already big enough. They're already traveling large expanses of distance, but like there's still stuff about the universe that is like so unfathomably much greater and more mysterious and scarier than they are. And that's not even to mention the horrifying things that happen to them in this movie. So yeah, it's just a unbelievably influential piece of media. And yeah, I mean, without this, we almost certainly wouldn't have Metroid, one of my favorite game franchises of all time. And like kind of like a lot of other things probably as well. Things I can't really think of off the top of my head, but sci-fi horror, I think that's kind of where it's at for me. I really jive with that a lot. So
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I still haven't watched any of them. So what's the best starting point for that series, you think?
I would probably just say just start from the beginning. Start with Alien and work your way forward.
Then go to Alien
I've
2.
only I've Aliens.
It's like
Alien
so
2 is
confusing
Aliens.
to me, the names there. I'd always see the names. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on in these movies, but there's like,
Well, yeah, because it's Alien, and then there's Aliens by James Cameron, and then there's Alien 3, which I think David Fincher directed that, of all people, because David Fincher was like he was like a protege of James Cameron's. So like
who wasn't?
Huh?
Who wasn't?
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
Who wasn't? Well, I guess to some degree, yeah. That's actually true. Because James Cameron was a protege of Roger Corman, famed. I'll make you a movie, and you need a movie made. I'll make it in like half or a quarter of the budget that you wanted to. Roger Corman. I'll make that movie in $1 million, less than $1 million. I'll make that movie. And he
Okay.
did. Yeah.
Alright.
But a lot of people got their start working under him. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Alien. All right.
Alien.
My number 7 is The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live.
Oh,
This
okay.
a mini series spin-off of The Walking Dead. After previously they had wrapped up The Walking Dead the series
Mm.
in like for such a long series, 11 seasons. They wrapped it up in a very satisfying way, like one of the best in terms of like wrapping up a season that has its highs and lows throughout. Like pretty unproblematic finish to that series. But then this was always teased as something, without going into too much detail, just a spin off featuring a couple of characters from the show that people
Hmm.
love. And I know a lot of people who hadn't watched Walking Dead in years jumped on for this miniseries itself.
Hmm.
And it's really good. I think it's like 6 episodes. It's really good. Um, but, I know people dropped off the bandwagon for Walking Dead. They missed out on some really good seasons that are towards the end.
Mm.
Um, this one's definitely worth checking out. And there was also The Walking Dead Dead City was another spin-off series that I watched. That's going to actually have more seasons, though. This one is just self-contained, 6 episodes. And really good if you're a Walking Dead fan. Obviously, you'll like it. If you're not, I
Hmm.
still encourage you to check out The Walking Dead. It's really good. And personally, I'm here for all the spin-off stuff. I'm a bit behind on a couple of them,
Hmm.
but I think it's kind of cool they're expanding it. Just overall, this is really cool. This is one I watched these two series, the Walking Dead ones, really early this year, so it was
Cool.
like teetering whether I should get it in this list, and then I had to remind myself just how much I liked it. It's really good. So yeah,
Nice. Rock on.
rock on. Number 6. You can tell when Alex looking at something. It's
Yeah,
so plain to see.
it's the worst. I know I'm the worst. What
You
the
are.
you are the you are the worst.
What could you possibly be looking at that's infiltrating your computer?
Uh, it's a virus on the machine. Yeah, just because I just thought if there was another series that I totally forgot that I watched. I thought I watched it last year, but I watched it this year, and that's okay. That's okay. It honestly, it probably wouldn't quite crack the top 10. It's very close though. That is probably actually what I would consider now my 11. Um,
All right.
Number 6 is Smiling Friends season 2.
Okay. All right. I
So
know nothing
Smiling
about this
Friends,
show.
yeah, Smiling Friends is an Adult Swim show created by Zach Cadle and Michael Cusack. Zach Cadle is also known as Psychic Pebbles. He's an old school Newgrounds. Well, Michael Cusack is a Newgrounds guy too, but they're kind of old school Newgrounds animators. Zach is has been more active in recent years. Before he actually got an animated show. He and Chris O'Neill, ONG, they did like a small web series called Hellbenders that I think they tried to pitch that to Adult Swim, or they tried to pitch that to networks, and that didn't ever go through. That was like back in the like 2010s, like early 2010s, I think they tried to get that
Mm-hmm.
done. But uh, Chris has done like a Let's Play channel for a long time. Oni plays, um, one of my favorites. It's a lot of fun. Probably my favorite Let's Play channel, I would say easily at this point. But so from that, the fact that I was like, oh wow, somebody that I've followed for a while is getting like their own Adult Swim show, and it is pretty much everything I could want. And it's like it just hits that sense of humor that's very much like these are people that you know that did Newgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
It hits a sense of humor that's like right up my alley, and yeah, season 2 is like pretty much just more smiling friends, which is all I really wanted from since season 1, which is only just a couple years ago. So Season two, very satisfying. I would say there's maybe like an episode or two that I would say is like, yeah, those are probably I probably would put most episodes in season one above those, but a lot of high highs for it overall. Um, and I loved it, and I can't wait to see more seasons. Hopefully coming in the near future from those two crazy guys.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, good stuff.
The only thing I know about Smiling Friends is that the Akinator kept trying to guess like Smiling Friends characters. I think that's what it was. It was like maybe when we were trying to get it to guess Waldo, he kept guessing
Like
Smiling
Pim.
Friends. Yes, I don't know who they
Oh,
were.
is it Pim? Is it is it Charlie? Hmm.
My number six is a show you might have heard of from
Hmm.
this year. A lot of awards buzz. It's
Oh,
Shogun.
oh, I
Shogun.
did. I've heard so much
Yeah,
about this, and oh man, I want to watch it so bad. But
it's so good. It's so
yeah.
good. Some beautiful performances. I'm glad they like were getting awarded for them as well, and
Mm.
like just sweeping the Emmys, like tons of
Yeah.
awards.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good. I mean, it's like right up my alley. These kinds of shows, it's like a period piece type drama mixed with compelling characters. That's like all I can ask for, you know. Because I was thinking going into our TV challenge we have right now, like I would recommend people watch Black Sails, which is like
Mm.
a character driven drama based on pirates. Vikings is based on Vikings. And now
Hmm.
this Shogun is like samurai and feudal Japan. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And you
Yeah.
just get some compelling characters, some brilliant acting, beautiful score. It's it's the whole package. Like production wise, it's killers. It's hard to complain. The direction is so good,
Mm.
and writing is really good. Anytime you get me really invested in characters, that's what I look for in a show. So it quickly, there was a couple of these. This was one of them that quickly came in. It was like pretty last minute. Like in December, I finished it
Mm.
because I got to the point where I had watched like 7 episodes, and we're coming up on the end of the year. And I'm like, no, I'm not about to not be able to include this on this list because I didn't watch like the last episode. So I
Right.
made sure to finish it just so I could
Right.
get
Right.
it eligible for this list. And here it is, number 6.
Great. Great.
High recommendation.
Um. Well. Yeah. Wasn't there? Isn't there stuff about like? Isn't it like a little bit of it also about like um some of the stories sort of about like translation? Like there's some of that, or
Yeah,
there's
it's a
like
big, recurring
a big
theme.
theme of it,
Yeah,
which I think that's so cool. I think that's such an interesting like theme or idea to sort of like delve into in terms of a drama, which it's um
yeah,
yeah.
because a lot of
So
it is based on like their interaction between like the guy who is not from Japan. He comes in and like his interactions with the translator and how they
mm,
grow closer. And they do
hmm
some really cool directing with that concept alone with translation. Like it'll be like him talking. There was one scene in particular in an early episode where he's talking to the one guy. She's translating for him, and then as the conversation progresses, like her voice kind of goes into the background, and they do some cool stuff with that.
mm, mm,
So yeah,
very nice.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Top five.
Top five has a lot here. All right.
You switching?
So
What's going on here?
my number five is Resident Evil 4 remake.
Whoa,
I
whoa.
played that earlier this year with Dub spectating, and this game was wonderful. Um, it's a remake of already one of my favorite games, and I think in some ways it does Resident Evil 4 better. Um,
Okay.
it's I think kind of it's hard to like really for me to like really say what one I prefer because I think they both are great in different ways. Um,
It's just the
I
new
think
one's more polished, right?
it's definitely more polished. There's like some small changes that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of in terms of like there's some like parts of it that they sort of rearranged or cut. Um, but that being said, overall, there is like one boss battle in particular that is such a massive improvement, which like because I also played on like professional difficulty. Like I started off playing at the
Mm,
hardest difficulty at the start because it's like I played Resident Evil 4 so many times, I can do this, and it was pretty hard. It was still pretty hard. And but that like that to me that just made the experience so much more enjoyable to challenge myself through the game. And um yeah, it's just it's wonderful. I think they did a fantastic job remaking one of the best games ever made and making another best game ever made like
mm,
in the process.
right.
um like Capcom just continues to outdo themselves in that regard. So I don't know what they have planned next. I don't know if they're going to do a spruce up of Resident Evil 5. I don't know if they're going to do Code Veronica. That's the one I hope they do. Because I think of all of them, that's the game that deserves to be. There's stuff in that game. I love that game, but there's definitely things in Code Veronica that could I could see them rearrange and remake and improve on some of the pacing and small issues I think I have with, or even some greater issues with that game. And um, so I would like to I'd like to see them give a crack at that. But Resident Evil 4 remake, absolutely a must play title, especially if you like the original game. There's a lot of there's a lot to still love in the remake. So
Cool. For the Gents Challenge this year, I played through Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube for the
hmm
first time,
hmm yeah,
and I enjoyed it for sure. But I was always saying there's lacking just a little bit of polish. That it's kind of
hmm
hard to go back and play a game like that for the first time in the year 2024.
hmm
And like, yeah, I got Resident Evil 4 on PS5 for Christmas,
yeah.
so that almost certainly be at the top of my list to finish in the next year
Yeah,
because
it definitely has the polish is definitely there,
that
big
might be
time.
exactly what I need for it to like really push it up into the upper echelon for me.
hmm
Absolutely. All right, cool.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line.
Ooh,
It's
very nice.
I think it might be it's one of the best rhythm games I've ever played. I think it's got to be one of the best rhythm games ever made. Just like the sheer amount of amazing music alone, such a
Mm-hmm.
catalog. It's just hard to go wrong. Like as someone who hasn't played most of the Final Fantasy games, I still love the music, and there's still so much to appreciate there. It was so fun going through all the different like so many games represented, like even some of the spin-offs and stuff like that. The rhythm at first I was unsure, like going from the 3DS to like PlayStation 5, how would they adapt it because that seemed pretty much intentionally for like the a stylus type rhythm
Right,
game,
right.
and it took a little bit getting used to, but once I did, it's like okay, this works. They translated it really well to a
Mm,
controller, and just so good. Like, and I still want to go back and play more. I know you were playing it a lot as well.
I did. I but up. There's yeah. I played it quite a bit this year as well. Going for the kind of like working towards the platinum trophy. I will say, uh, there's a point where that gets pretty difficult, and not like difficult like as it's hard to do. It's just kind of a grind. Um, Especially if you don't realize that maybe you shouldn't switch characters as much as I did.
Hmm.
I was switching characters to play on different titles. Really, for the Platinum Trophy, what you need to do is you kind of need to pick at least one like main character and kind of stick with them through the whole game so that you can get to star level 10 most quickly.
Yeah.
Because like I think I have like two or three characters on star level 4 now that I when I realized that I should have been doing that after I beat the game, so like beat the main part of the game, and I did like a lot of cleanup and yeah. So,
Yeah.
oops.
Yeah. That's one of those games I'll never do go for a platinum or anything.
Mm,
Like I prefer like a reasonable challenge for my rhythm games, and
Hmm.
then I'll go back and I'm slowly going through all the songs, trying to do all the different difficulties and everything,
Yeah.
all the different quests and whatnot. But yeah, I feel like I needed to give it a pretty high spot here. Shout out
Yeah.
to, as I love rhythm games, and
Hmm.
it's not the most complex thing in the world. You kind of got amazing music. It's gonna lend itself to pretty amazing rhythm game as long as you don't screw it up. So
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I agree. In fact, I agree so much. My number four is Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line.
I was like, I didn't know. I thought it would be up
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah, it's this is like easy comfort food game for me, but like it's more than that because I think I completely agree. I think the rhythm they somehow made something that I'd never played the 3DS games. But they took something that I thought was maybe a little odd to try to translate to a controller.
mhm.
And like I almost don't even want to go back and play those because I think this works so well that like you
Yeah,
don't even need it really.
Theater is one of the
Um
clearest examples of like the next game making the one before it completely obsolete. Like
yeah.
you have no reason to play the original once you play Curtain Call, and then you have no reason to play Curtain Call now that you play this because it's just more and better.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right, and I think the intent. It's interesting because I think with Curtain Call, their intent was to be like, "This is it. This is what we got." But now that they've done like Final
Right.
Bar Line, um,
Curtain Call,
they're like,
final bar line,
well.
and then
So
it's like,
in between those, there was a arcade game,
oh yeah,
which I don't remember the subtitle for, but it was only in Japanese arcades, and they had additionally kind of been like, "We'll do like a one big last celebration." Of the series in this, we'll have like a bunch of original arrangements for it. We'll do all the old songs, and so I think Final Bar Line is actually like kind of based I think a lot on that sort of in terms of like how it controls and stuff. Um, and I'm glad that it exists because it's a phenomenal rhythm game. Like
yeah.
it's one of the best that I've ever played. I love
Yeah.
rhythm games, but it's one of the best.
It's hard.
And
It's
and yeah,
hard to
just
get much better than that.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I share all the praise. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4 for me,
Hmm.
Ghosts of Tsushima. I
Oh, very nice.
had the Gens challenge earlier. I had a theme that
Mm,
was feudal Japan meets Japanese mythology. That's when I played
hmm.
Ghost of Tsushima and Okami. And
Right.
then later that year, I watched Shogun. It's like I'm all in on the Japanese culture this year. And Ghost of Tsushima is so good. It's like if you love open world games, we take them for granted now because there's so many of them.
Mm,
It's funny how like spoiled we are to where like these open world games that we have now are the ones we've always like dreamed of when we were younger, being what games are like. And now people will be like, "Oh, we have too many open world games," like
yeah.
they're like
Yeah.
so spoiled that it's like they're not as unique. So you really have to pave your own path to really stand out from the bunch here.
Hmm.
Ghost of Tsushima does a really good job of like showing appreciation for the culture and incorporating that pretty seamlessly into like the typical open world mechanics in terms of like when you go on the map and you have these things you need to collect. They're all very like tied into the Japanese culture of the time, like, and Shogun also does this is like big on the poetry.
Mm,
Ties that in as well as like a little collectible thing. There's stuff with like fox dens. There's cool like showdowns you can do with people. Just so much stuff to do that I really do want to go back to it this year. Because even after finishing it, I think about 50 hours. There's so much more to get to. There's a whole DLC map
mm,
plus tons of side quests I still want to do and things to collect.
yeah.
So it's just really good and it's beautiful. I played the PlayStation 4 version because I had bought it years ago, and then it's one of those things where I sat on it and I never played it. I could have just gotten the PS5 version, but
Mm,
to me, I never really bothered with getting paying for the PS5 upgrade. And with this, it's like I wouldn't have known the difference. You could have told me this was a PS5 game, and I wouldn't be
Mm,
able to tell. It's like one of the best looking games.
yeah,
Visually,
those
it's
late the
beautiful.
late stage PS4 games still look really pretty amazing. They
Yeah,
look like PS5 games basically at that point. So
and this game in
yeah.
particular, just something about it just looks really good. Just like
Mm,
fields of like beautiful flowers and stuff, like
mm.
really stands out. Some great music as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the new one this year, but I obviously still have plenty of content to get into before then too.
Hmm.
So stellar. This was
Yeah.
this was a Gents challenge game for me. So these challenges are really doing a good job of getting us some games and
Yeah.
movies in here.
Yeah, big time. All right. Well, my number 3 is I don't remember. I actually didn't look this up to see if this was actually the subtitle. I thought it was like, that's the subtitle. Now I'm like second guessing myself, but Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, I believe is what it's
That's
called.
correct. Yes.
Um
Wow.
and I'm a big fan of Mad Max Fury Road. I think it's probably the greatest action movie ever made. And this isn't that. It is a completely different beast in a lot of ways. It tells like this grand sort of well, I think it lives up to its idea of a saga. It tells this like grand story across the lifetime of Furiosa. Um and like it feels like a it in particular, kind of like some of the other Mad Max stories, at least what I've been told about them. Actually, the only Mad Max film that I've ever seen is Fury Road. So, um, but from kind of what I understanding about it is that like a lot of them feel like kind of like legends that are like sort of passed down. Like that's sort of the feeling that it sort of gives. This one in particular really leans into that sort of it's telling a legend or some sort of story because of how just the development of Furiosa's life and all of the different people that she encounters and the the trials she has to overcome and having to basically survive in this horrible ragtag world. Um, Chris Hemsworth is amazing in this movie as he's not just Immortan Joe, who's this like power hungry, uh, dictator like character. Um, he's a lot more like bumbling and idiotic, but is way too proud to ever admit that. The sense of humor is just like so weird and strange and fun. Um, yeah, I just loved this movie from start to finish. It's a different thing if you're going into it thinking that they're just bringing this Mad Max but with a woman. It's like no, it's a totally different thing from than what you're expecting. It still has a lot of the high highs of the high octane thrills that Fury Road does. But it's not like you know, it's not like that the whole movie, much like Fury Road is. It's a different kind of. There's a lot more moments of calm and introspection, I would say. Um, and yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I thought it was a wonderful film. And it's a crying shame that it did basically nothing at the box office. So
Mm.
I think Fury Road had the same kind of issue too, where like I don't think that did all that well at the box office either. So, but I thought the performances in this were just phenomenal. So Anya Taylor Joy, she's one of my favorites right now. So, um, yeah, good stuff. I really like that movie a lot.
It's definitely not the highest grossing movie that mentions Furiosa, that's for sure.
No,
Not this
no,
year.
that's true. It's not this. Not unfortunately not.
My number three is Astrobot.
Oh, so good. Man, I
Astrobot.
I wish I'd gotten around to playing it.
Gotta
It
play
looks
it.
so good.
I'm pissed I left. My brother had got me for Christmas this little Astrobot plush.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to whip him out here, but it's so
love
good. If
him.
you love platformers, it's just pristine. Like I came out so passionately after I finished it. Like this is one of the few, if not the only example I can think of that rivals like a Nintendo 3D
Mm,
platformer in terms of quality, pure quality.
mm,
That like can literally be up there in the ranks with 3D Mario's and things like that.
yeah.
Um, it's just super polished, a lot of fun. Fun worlds. Obviously, tons of PlayStation history in the mix, which people like to hold against it. You know, it's like when people
That's
criticize, it's like it's just PlayStation marketing the game. You know, but it's like okay, yeah, like with tons of dead series that they're not doing anything with.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like yeah. I heard about some of the deeper cut stuff where I'm like, oh, that's kind of a
lots
fun.
of deep cuts. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fun. That's like, oh,
absolutely.
that's kind of fun that they're referencing that.
Yeah, and it was so fun just going to collect all the different Astrobots. Astro's Playroom, I think, was on a previous top 10 for me a
Mm,
year or two ago, which was really good. You know, built in with
yeah.
the PlayStation 5, perfect tech demo,
Mm,
exactly shows off the qualities of the PlayStation 5 controller perfectly. And it
hmm.
just took that and turned it into a full blown game. Lots of fun content. And I know they did a little DLC thing for Christmas. I never did that.
Hmm.
I think they're still doing more for it too. But it's just a lot of fun. Pretty
Great.
simple.
Yeah.
Astrobot. My
Yeah, it's
my yeah.
definitely top of mind for me coming into this year. That's gonna be a game I get to for sure.
Yeah.
So
And it won game of the year, baby. Look at that.
did one game of the year. Game of the year. So well, my number two is also a platformer, but is not a 3D platformer. It is a 2D platformer, and
Wonderful.
that game is Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which I just like the last weeks of the year, the last
Right.
week of the year played through.
Yeah.
Um, and this is the best Mario 2D Mario game since like maybe Mario 3. Like it's really really good. Mario World and Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island are both great as well. Like don't get me wrong. Um but oh man, it is just brimming with creativity. It's not a slouch when it comes to difficulty either. I think obviously we've talked about you've talked about like the final levels, like one of the hardest challenges that you've ever kind of dealt with
Hmm.
in games. I would say there's bits and parts of the rest of the game that are also fairly challenging. A bosses notwithstanding, I think the bosses are kind of
The bosses are
not
hot garbage.
they're not great. They're probably the biggest weakness of the game, including the final Bowser fight, which I thought was it was fun, but it was sort of a whatever.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of challenging platforming throughout the rest of the game, though, um, especially in bonus stages, but even some standard stages. If you're just trying to do some normal, kind of some normal little stuff, if you're trying to get all the Wonder Seeds and purple coins, I have not yet collected all the purple coins. I'm still working on getting 100% of the game, but I'm just having so much fun going back through these worlds and like doing different having like different badges and going through
Wait, so did you
doing
unlock
doing
the
stuff.
the final level?
I have not done that yet. No.
Okay.
So I'm
That's
still working on
amazing.
doing so.
All right.
I'm still working on doing so. I did the final level. There's the final challenge or whatever it's called. But I know
Yeah.
there's one past that. Once you do, you have to get basically everything, like all the flagpoles, all the purple coins. I've got all the wonder seeds. I just am missing those other two things.
Well,
So
that's amazing. That's amazing. If it's at number
yeah,
2 now, like that
yeah,
that like elevated the game so much for me when I played that level. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I loved it. I think it's a phenomenal game. This is the direction I wish the new Super series had gone. New Super, in comparison, is just super bland.
It's so dry. It looks
So
so dry
bland.
now. You know.
and this is just like brimming, like I said, is brimming with energy and fun, and there's different there's different stuff built into it so that you can play it with like little kids.
Hmm.
Yoshi's and Nabbit, like Nabbit doesn't take damage. Yoshi's have like a flutter jump. I think there's like another bonus to Yoshi's as well. I think they have a little easier.
Yeah, if you're playing as
Another
a
little easier
Yoshi or
thing.
Nabbit as a grown adult, you got some
Yeah.
issues that you need to deal with. You're like missing out on half the game.
Yeah.
I remember watching some people play it on some channel, and someone was playing as that, and it's like you're missing it. You don't get like any of the fun power ups, and you just like
Yeah.
you just walk
Yeah.
through everything.
I threw on a Lewis stream because she was playing it,
Uh-huh.
and she was playing as Yoshi, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah,
It's like play as another character for God's sake.
you can't get any of the fun
Like,
power ups or anything,
yeah.
and it's
Oh,
just nothing.
both the new both well, I guess the drill's new too. All the new power ups are really fun.
Mm.
I love Elephant Mario is just weird
Really,
and goofy and wacky,
yeah.
but I like the bubble power up is really fun. And the drill is really useful as well. So, and not to mention all the wacky weird transformations that happen when you get a Wonder
Oh
Flower.
yeah,
So,
is a weird some weird shit, and we like
yeah.
that. I will say I liked what they were cooking with the badges. I
Hmm.
think they could really iron it out though, because it became a point to where like there were two badges that are like the best to use for me personally. I would just use one of the
Yeah.
two.
Well,
And
which were those? I'm curious.
well, it's been a while, so it was whatever
Okay,
one it
the
gave.
spin jump one.
Yeah, that
The
was
one
the
they gave you
one.
like more. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, because like I think they really needed to do more like you need to use this badge type levels, like that you're stuck with a
I
certain thing.
I agree. I think relegating those to challenges is um maybe a little too freeing. I guess maybe too unrestrictive. I think it would have been more fun to have like extra bonuses added. Be like you have to do this level with this
Yeah,
outside of like challenge levels. Like beat this level as in with invisibility because invisibility is just like a weird.
right.
That's just like a weird hard thing to have self-imposed on yourself.
Because
You
yeah,
know.
it's like you can impose your own challenges with them, but there's
Mhm.
something different in like having it, maybe even having levels designed for each of them more so than just the
Right.
little bits you get, you know.
Right.
Because it's like
Yeah.
there's really two or three that are practical to use most of the time.
Mm.
So
But another really big highlight for me in that is the online component of that game as well. I think what they did with the online component was brilliant, beyond brilliant. It was so fun when I get to go into one of those like puzzle levels where
mhm.
it's like it's kind of like only your character can see certain blocks. So like all the other characters in the game can see other blocks. So if you're just playing by yourself, you're kind of just groping around in the dark trying to find everything. But if you're playing online, you have like three other people that are playing the same level as you, and you can kind of help each other figure stuff out. So there was this moment I was playing and I had figured out everything I had already sort of figured out everything about this little puzzle. It's like one of these little self-contained puzzle worlds. And I had figured it out, but I noticed that some of the other players were struggling with it. You know, they look like ghosts basically, and they don't interact with your world very much, other than that you can leave like a stand down, which that's cool in and of itself. But I sort of like helped people navigate and like find little hidden things that I could tell they were struggling looking for, and it was just like this really cool way to just interact with people online in like a really positive and kind of wholesome way. I just get to help people like figure out, hey, this is how you get up to find this thing up over here. Um, I really like that a lot. I thought that was just such a cool little component. I kind of wish there was more of that in the game, like more little puzzle levels like that you could help people out with. But um, yeah,
I
I
never
really
did
like that a
anything with
lot.
the multiplayer or online with that game.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
I think it's great. That to me was just like, ah, they really did something kind of special with this online component. So yeah.
Cool. My number two is going to be Hogwarts Legacy. It's
Ooh, I knew it was coming at some point. I knew it was coming.
so good. Another Gents Challenge game as
Mm-hmm.
well. So good. Another open world game. Like I really hit like I have a list of all the games I beat this year. There's a lot of killers. Like
Mm.
tons of like ones that would have made other lists that are not even on this one. Hogwarts Legacy is excellent. I mean, Harry Potter fans, you would love it. You know,
Yep. Yeah.
there's so
I
much,
know. I know.
so much love and care put into the world. Even
Mm.
just in Hogwarts itself, it's just wild going around Hogwarts and like seeing like the moving paintings and every little touch they did. And there's so much to collect just in Hogwarts. And then you go out and there's plenty more. And you go out of there, and it's a lot of fun. Flying around, so many things to collect, and very similar open world ways as like Ghost of Tsushima. You have tons of stuff on the map to go back for.
Mm.
I did every single side quest for that game, and that wasn't like too bad. It wasn't too crazy just to do that. So there is
Mm.
still tons of the other things on the map I haven't collected that I plan to go back. I always say once I finish the game, like I'm gonna go finish it, and then I never touch it again.
Mm.
So I'm trying not to do that with Ghost of Tsushima because there's actually a
Yeah.
lot of quests and stuff to do in there. I at least did all the quests in
Yeah.
Hogwarts. Like I put it was like 80 hours into that game this year, so
Yeah. Wow.
nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure.
Not at all.
But it's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful game, really cool story. There's a couple moments where it's like a little glitchy. It was a little glitchy for me, or there's an annoying thing with one mechanic. But other than that, really
Mm.
cool. Rusty was even talking about this. He had started playing it and is like well into it now. He was talking about how the combat was like surprisingly fun as well, which is definitely a standout too.
I I think he was probably because like based on what I've watched of gameplay of it, it's surprisingly pretty solid combat.
Hmm.
I would assume if I had to take a guess, he was probably thinking the combat was going to be more along the lines of like the PS2 games, and
Yeah,
the combat in that is not really anything to write home about. It's pretty basic, but
right.
it's cool. It is very cool seeing what they having watched a little, some people play it. It's very cool to see what they did with it.
So many
So,
spells that you can unlock. Like it's just a
mm,
huge thing. Like once you see all of them on there, it's like Jesus. It's kind of overwhelming how many options you have at that point.
mm.
Some fun stuff. I played it after they had done like a free update to it at one point, which added a whole side quest, which was really cool. I think it was
Oh,
around
neat.
Halloween time or something like that. They did
Mm,
a spooky like side quest that was really cool. So I mean, there's a lot of love. I mean, I'm sure you'll love it. Like
yeah.
I'd be surprised that any year you finish that if it's not like right in the top 10 here.
Yeah.
But, so that's my highest recommendation. Highest
Mm,
recommendation for you
that's
right
pretty
there.
high.
All
All
right,
right.
your
Well,
number one, the
my
best
number
of the
one,
year.
my number one is a short movie, very short movie. In terms of its length, it was not
Short
feature
film.
length. It wasn't a. I guess maybe it's a short film.
It better be a
I
short
guess
film because there's no
it
short
was
films on
it.
this list.
It's about it's about 60 minutes long.
uh,
Um, and that was Tatsuki Fujimoto's. Uh, the story was written by him. It's a little manga that they made into a movie, and it is called Look Back.
look back. Yeah,
And
seen this was on Letterbox. You put that on there, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it was one of the most powerful things that I watched all year. It's a testament to like the sacrifices that you have to endure and go through to try to like fulfill your dreams as an artist. It's a story about friendship, about regret, about moving on, about it's sort of an almost in memoriam of the attack that happened at Kyoto Animation back in the like mid 2010s. It's so many things, and it's just one of the most beautifully animated movies that I've seen in a very long time. Probably since like last year, because The Boy and the Heron I think was on my list last year. This is up there with that for me in terms of like just like the raw power of the animation. Um, in this particular movie, the I think the thing that I was most impressed by was how well they sort of translated the kind of sketchy style of Fujimoto's artwork, and they basically just like animated panels of the manga. Like it feels like they just straight up animated panels of the manga, but it like goes beyond that. It's not just like a slavish recreation. It's like it does its own little things with it. Um and yeah, I mean it was just the voice performances were stellar. It was subtitled. It was not dubbed, as far as I'm aware. I still don't know if
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it got dubbed or not. But the voice performances are amazing. The music, like I cried 2 times watching it in the span of 60 minutes. So, um, I I think I wrote afterwards that like I can't think of a writer like a current author in Japan that like speaks to me more than Tatsuki Fujimoto does. Because Chainsaw Man, that was his that was another thing that was I think that was my number one 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um and this is another thing that he wrote, kind of like a one shot thing that he wrote in the middle of writing Chainsaw Man. He's still in the middle of writing Chainsaw Man. Um, Goodbye Area is another one. I think I might have mentioned that in a previous thing as well. That's also extremely good. I don't know if they're going to animate that. I kind of That's one of those ones where I think it kind of works best just as a manga, but um, I mean, I would like to see somebody try it. That would be cool.
Hmm.
Um, and and then yeah, I love his storytelling sensibilities and the weird places he can go. But I would say Look Back is very grounded in terms of a story, like a lot more grounded than any of the other stuff I've read or watched. So it's great. I mean, I can't give a higher recommendation. That you can watch it on Prime, Amazon Prime now. So, but I
Very
was really
cool.
really happy that I saw it in theaters. So
I'll definitely put that on my list. Like
yeah,
60 minutes. That's nothing. That's beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
All right. My number one is kind of like it was kind of like a cheat code that I got in here, but it's Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Oh hey,
Yeah. It's kind
that
of
is a cheat
unfair. It
code.
kind of locked up the number one spot like as soon as it came out.
It's just like, all right, this is
Because
it.
so Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is often what I'll say is like my favorite game ever. It's at
Hmm.
least up there, top 10 at least. And if it was a remaster, I'm never gonna put a remaster in this, but it's technically a remake.
Yeah,
So
sure.
remake, fair game. Um, it's just amazing. Still so charming. The writing, the
Mm,
the combat's so fun. The turn-based battle system, action commands. It was like as soon as I played this game, it was like it's like riding a bike. It's like right back into it immediately. I just know it by heart. It's one of those for me.
mm,
So in terms of a new experience, Hogwarts Legacy would be the top spot. But this
hmm.
really, um, it's hard to complain too much. The frame rate is not 60 frames per second, but you don't really notice it that much. And they just improve on little things. There's still some things they could have made quality of life improvements on, but overall, they added a couple little things. That's all you really needed to do. They did
Hmm.
remixes of the songs, um, but also give you the option to use the original music as well, just like with Mario RPG. So you get the best of both worlds. Because I kind of prefer the original, but I was
Hmm.
also trying to hear the new stuff, because at least want to get that new experience from that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's cool. You can switch back if you want. The partners are great. This is peak Paper Mario partners. They're so
Absolutely.
likable. The writing's amazing. I tried to tell people that are playing Paper Mario for the first time that Goombella, if you like press X, literally in every single screen of the game, she has something different to say.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
That balloons the script. I mean,
Yeah, every
Goombario.
character, every screen.
I mean, Goombario did that too, sort of, but like, who cares? Who cares? It's Goombario. Unfortunately, is just boring. He's not
Yeah,
really an interesting character. So, but the thing that makes Goombella so much better is that she's extremely charming. So, and like sassy,
yeah,
and like, so when she's talking about stuff, it's very like, it's that character saying it. She's not just spouting information. That was kind of sort of Goombario's thing. He's like, this is this character.
right.
He does this. She puts her own little thing on it, like that weird dog guy with the that's wearing the Elvis costume that's always hitting on her.
Hell yeah,
Like,
yeah.
she's always like grossed out by him whenever he shows up anywhere. So
Because a lot of games, a lot of RPGs will have like a codex or something like that, where
mhm,
you just has all the information on the world and things like that, which is still cool. I still love that stuff.
mhm,
Like Mass Effect in particular, I remember has a huge, expansive codex of like
mm,
you want to learn every little aspect of the world, and they have like full on narration, like you're reading a book for you. So that's one aspect. Within this, you get her like subjective take on everything. It's
yeah, yeah,
not a reliable narrator sometimes.
yeah. But that's fun.
It's fun.
That's
And there's even stuff that I didn't know she said stuff about that I still missed out on. Like I didn't realize a lot of things. Like if you stand in front of something, she'll have something to say specifically about that. So there's even more stuff I haven't seen
mm,
that she said. But they did do some good improvements in terms of like one of the biggest complaints people have about the game is the backtracking. It becomes a bit excessive, especially in later chapters.
mm.
And it's like in the original, they did have a way to go from like Rogueport to other areas relatively quickly. But this one just expedites it a lot better. A much more easily accessible area that has like pipes to all the different worlds.
Oh, that's really nice.
Get you in and out real
That's
quick. Like especially the
yeah.
one there's one like quest towards the end, which is literally the whole joke is that it's sending you back and forth because you're trying to find was it Admiral that admirable bomb, I forget what his name is.
Bobbery? Oh yeah, that's
No,
right. Yeah, you have to like go back to.
no, the white, it was like the white
Oh yeah,
bomb guy.
General White.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
General, I think it's just General White.
Mr.
I'm pretty
White.
sure. Yes, that's right. General White is just like, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you're trying to
That is
track him down, so you go over here. And
right.
he's like, oh, he's actually way back in the other town you were at before, and so the
Yeah,
whole joke is you're going back and forth, but it's still
right.
annoying. So it speeds it up a little bit.
Hmm.
And I just think the wrap up, how the game finishes, the big finale, it's like actually like surprisingly gets you invested in the world. And like they do a great job of building this world out. I still think Rogueport is an amazing like base town,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of heart in it. And all the different unique character designs that we love about these first two Paper Mario games are very present here.
Hmm.
So it's great. I recommend it for people who love RPGs, for people who like are just getting into RPGs. It's just like kind of like a good one to get into. Like Mario RPG, I would say is a really good starting RPG. This one
Hmm.
too. You know, it's not crazy. Like you're not. There's something beautiful about the Paper Mario formula to where you're not dealing with crazy numbers like some of these JRPGs where it's like 10,500 HP and you're doing like
Yeah.
this much damage and all this. It's like you're literally each time you level up, you're moving up like 5. So it's like you're anywhere from like 10 to 50 HP and
Yep.
and it's pretty straightforward in that way, but a lot of fun. I love it. I love it. I always love it. So there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my number one.
Hmm.
And there you have it. Those are our top 10s right there.
Top 10.
Some solid stuff. We're going to get into
Hmm.
honorable mentions as well.
Yep. Be a little bit quicker here.
Definitely. We're going to do rapid fire.
Yeah.
1 to 2
Yeah.
sentences each. We're going to hold ourselves to this.
At the most. Yeah. Yeah.
I will say we got a lot of like the end of the year stuff coming up.
Yep.
So we'll have some moments of reflection to talk about. We're gonna be doing like our awards, talking specifically about stuff we did on the channel. We're gonna be
Right.
talking about like everything we've reviewed, putting that on a tier list. We're gonna be doing a end of the year or New Year podcasts where we'll
Mm-hmm.
go over our goals from last year and set some new ones for this year.
I didn't do very well.
No. But I will say, yeah, definitely Resident Evil 4, I imagine, will be one of my games that I want to get to on that
Mm,
list.
mm-hmm.
But all right, what do you want to do this?
Um, just go back and forth with ones. I probably have more than you. I have like a ton, but some of them I don't even. I'm not even really gonna say a whole lot about, if anything. So,
Okay.
I mean, I can start with one that might be on your list. Inside Out 2.
And so that too. It's not on my
Yeah,
list, but
yeah,
I had this weird thing this year where a lot of movies and stuff that people loved, I was like, oh,
yeah.
it's pretty good.
It was pretty good. Yeah,
It didn't
I
quite
thought
get
it
to
was
the top.
great. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
In an era where Disney is floundering.
There's your two
Um,
sentences. You're done.
in an era where Disney is floundering to find its own identity, Pixar is still, even if it's doing a sequel, is still succeeding and doing a good job. Um,
Absolutely.
it's not a perfect, for we still got like the Good Dinosaur and stuff and Lightyear, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
Inside Out 2 is really good. So
All right. Well, shout out to Wicked. Shout out to
oh,
Wicked.
that's one of mine. Yeah,
I
Wicked, big
really, I
time.
really wanted to fit it in. I was struggling to
I
try
did
to get it
too.
in the top 10,
It's yeah, it was tough for me too.
right on the cusp. But
Yeah,
amazing music that I still listen to this day. Amazing performances. A lot of fun. We're seated and we're here for part two, 2020.
absolutely. We are going to review part 2, 100%. Andor is one of mine. That was one of the ones that I realized, oh, I've watched that this year. I forgot that I watched this year because
Okay.
it was pretty early on this year that I watched it. Amazing show. I mean, I think it's probably my 11. If I couldn't fit in, probably another day, I'd probably try to fit it in on the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I as somebody who doesn't really like Rogue One, I'm pretty outspoken at not caring about Rogue One as much. This was wonderful. This was incredible. I like Cassian Andor as a character, and that being said, he's also probably still the least interesting character in this cast of unbelievably well written, well rounded, complicated adult like just characters. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the writing of Andor. Um, it's definitely Star Wars for people maybe who don't like Star Wars. It's Star Wars that has a little bit more of a grown up sensibility. Just not in terms of like it's dark or whatever, but it's like it's the writing is complex and gritty and like it deals with a lot heavier themes, I would say, than like most Star Wars would, which I guess Rogue One kind of sort of does to its credit. I think this is far and away more successful than Rogue One is,
Mm,
but I
okay.
love yeah, Andor's great.
The Color Purple, the
Mm.
2023 remake. I watched this
Hmm.
January 1st, 2024. It was holding on there like it's been in my top 3 movies of the year ever since, but I think it really
Mm.
just suffered from like it being so early in the year that it
Mm.
was hard to really get it up there, but it was right on the cusp, like the 11 to 15 range on my list. It's really
Well, yeah.
powerful, amazing cast of actors, and some amazing performances, some good music. I'd say that it starts pretty slow, but by the end, it's like, wow, you're fully invested and just super emotional.
Mm.
Really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard good stuff about it. So, I'll fire off two really quick, and these are because I did not finish them. Um, Better Call Saul. I didn't finish it. I was trying really hard to finish it before
Mm.
the end of the year. That's gonna have to leave towards next year. I will say, just as a sneak preview, I think it's one of the best TV shows that I've ever watched.
Whoa.
Um,
So you
and
talking all of Better Call Saul or like the first season?
so I've seen up through season partway through season 5.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to. I tried really hard to finish it. I took kind of a break partway through the year, and that's probably I probably should have just like stuck with it and finished the whole thing. I mean, stuck with it. I love it. It's amazing.
So you could have had
But
you finished. You could have had something on there if you wanted to. I guess.
I
Like
could
right.
have, but I felt like, oh, it's not done. I didn't
Hmm.
complete it. And the same thing was with Arcane season one. I still haven't finished season one of Arcane. I started watching it this year. I love it. Um, and that just couldn't make my list because I didn't finish it. So
Hmm.
I can't say whether or not I love it as much as maybe I would.
Yeah,
So
that's a fun little twist on our list where we have to finish it because
mm,
it's like an added incentive. Like they literally pushed me to finish Shogun in time,
yeah.
and a couple of these. So because otherwise, there were plenty of times like this year. Like you could literally play a game for like 100 hours, but if you haven't finished it, it's not eligible. That's why it makes it tough for games like some of the life sim games,
Yeah.
like Harvest Moons and stuff. It's like you don't really play those to beat them, but
Mm.
so I'll say in terms of movies that came out this year, The Wild Robot was
I
really
still
good.
didn't see it. I've heard so many good people tell me that they're like, Alec, you need to watch it. You love animation. It was really good,
Yeah,
but
it's
I still haven't seen it.
beautiful, really heartwarming story, and it's yeah, it was in my top five movies that came out this year at least.
Mm.
So really good. Shout out.
The Holdovers
Oh, you
was a
watched it?
movie that
I
I
watched it
watched this
also this
year.
year. Yeah.
I love this movie. I saw
It's
it in the summer, and then I watched it again, uh, like on Christmas. I don't know if it was on Christmas Eve. I think it was no. I think it was the day before Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve.
hmm
With my parents. I wanted to show my dad, especially because my dad was a history teacher. And ju- uh, such a a movie that just makes you feel really good
it's
at the
cozy,
end of
yeah.
it. It's just such a cozy movie. It's powerful. Um, all of the performances are really good. The lead kid performance is just the most believable, like awkward high school kid. Paul Giamatti is just wonderful. Um, and oh, I don't remember her name. The she plays the lunch lady. She won Best
Yeah.
Supporting Actress that year, and she totally deserves it. She was amazing too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just a wonderful little Christmas. Yeah, watch it at Christmas, 100%.
Yeah.
You can watch it in the summer. I did too, and I thought it was very extremely charming and heartwarming, and I loved it. But it's a,
Yeah.
it's a great movie.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Yeah,
Okay, this is Coen Brothers, right?
it's Coen Brothers.
Yeah, I was just talking with Coen Brothers with a friend of mine.
Yeah,
I've watched
I was just talking to the Coen Brothers the other
I was just
day.
talking to the Coen Brothers. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I've seen that, and he was getting after me because I've seen like almost no Coen Brothers movies. It's
I
really
love
bad.
them. I love them.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men is always my first go-to recommendation, but
Hmm.
this one was really good too. This was another Film Buff challenge.
Mm.
Shout out Thanos one time for the recommendation. This
Yay!
is a good one.
Yeah.
It's one of those just like outrageous. It was really cool because if you know the Coen Brothers style, it has that style absolutely.
Mm.
But then there's some that are very different because it's kind of like multiple different stories in one. You kind of go through it's like little chapters that are completely different stories in like a Wild West type setting, and it's really fun.
Mm.
That's all I can say. If you like Coen Brothers, um, if you haven't seen Coen Brothers, definitely worth checking out. They have such a distinct style. Once you watch one, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Mm.
It's
Well, they have.
really good.
That's where the first time meme comes from as well.
What's that one?
First time. That's when he's
Oh,
at the when he's
yeah,
at the gallows.
yeah, yeah,
um.
yeah. So that one was in like my top three, top
Yeah.
five movies from the year. Like this,
Yeah.
my list was so loaded with games. It was like six
Mm.
six out of the 10 were games. I played so many good games. So
Yeah. I'm just gonna bang out a handful of movies here. Logan just missed because Deadpool and Wolverine was on here. Logan is actually probably like
you
this is
watched
the one that
Logan
was
this
like
year.
I did. Logan,
Absolute
Robo.
snub. You snubbed
It was
Logan.
it was a pretty
Yeah.
big snub. It was a snub. It was a snub because I wanted to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. That is like the only reason.
That's the one.
Logan is such a good movie. It is like,
It might be the
yeah,
best comic book movie ever. I mean, it's
it's
like,
easy. I would say almost easily. Yes, it's a piece of
wow.
art. So, that was a big snub. RoboCop, another big snub.
Hmm.
Bullet Train is not maybe not a snub, but I loved Bullet Train. I think it's a great movie. It's a lot of fun. Dune Part Two is
Oh,
another. I subbed it out for Alien because I was like, I can't in good conscience. I like Dune. I think Dune Part Two is extremely good movie, and really liked it a lot. But I was like, Alien is just a better movie. I can't in good
wow.
conscience
I watched
put
Dune.
that in there.
I
Yeah.
didn't even mention. Yeah, I watched both Dunes this year.
Hmm.
I watched Dune early in the year so I could watch Dune Part 2 by the end of the year. And I watched Dune Part 2 like December 31st, like finished it. Like,
You
like
just put
just
it
in
in.
case. But it didn't
Mm,
make my list anyway. But I mean, it's good. It's great, obviously. But
yeah.
I thought for sure it was going to be your list. I completely forgot that it wasn't, that it didn't
No,
come
it
up.
was it like I saw. Yeah, it kind of got snubbed, honestly.
We did what
Yeah,
got snubbed. Like you made the list talking about
I know.
it
I
got
know I did.
snubbed. It got robbed.
Sonic 3 also. That was like one of the few ones that was on the short list for me
Hmm.
coming in that we reviewed. But you know, it's a good movie. But it's Sonic 3.
Yeah. In terms of things we reviewed, surprisingly light in terms of like anything that I considered on this list. I think Wicked was the only thing that I
Yeah,
considered in my top 10 that we've reviewed.
yeah. Because like the Pirates movies are
We'd seen
like
them all.
but we'd
Yeah,
seen them all before, so it's like hard to we can't do that in good conscience.
exactly.
Yeah.
So other than that, we reviewed a lot of like mid movies or
Mm.
ones that
Or
don't
movies that are
quite
like
hit that
pretty
top
good.
tier. Yeah,
Like Mission Impossible, we both like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. We didn't
yeah,
really have much more to say about it than that.
yeah. So Wicked, I kind of really wanted to get in there for that and for it
Mm,
being a movie this year that it was my favorite movie that came out this year. I'll say that.
yeah.
But uh, yeah, like I said before, I saw Deadpool 2 and
Hmm.
Deadpool and Wolverine. They both didn't make my top 10, but I enjoyed them both. And I think the last, actually, one more: Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, I've never seen this movie.
Yeah,
It's a Thanksgiving movie though.
there you go.
One of the few.
It's another cozy type movie for sure.
Yeah.
I always heard it in the same conversations as like Naked Gun, and I
Mhm.
love Naked Gun. So I'll say that the humor is completely different though upon watching
Yeah.
it, but it's a really sweet movie, but also funny. So it's real cozy. It
Mm.
wasn't really gonna make my top 10, but it's definitely gonna be a memorable one for me that I really enjoy. And the last movie I'll shout out is Treasure Planet.
Oh, you hadn't seen that before?
I hadn't seen it. There was another Film Plus challenge from
Yeah.
Thanos.
Oh,
Shout
that's
out.
right. That's right. You did watch it for that. That movie's really special,
It is.
I think. Yeah.
And it's a shame because again my list was so stacked. Like any other year, would have loved to have this in the top 10 to give it some recognition. Because I think the villain is really cool. One of the coolest
Mm.
Disney villains, and
Hmm.
I knew nothing about going into this, and it's a really nice movie.
Mm.
It's one of my definitely I would say like a hidden gem
Mm.
for Disney movies. How about games? Do you have any games that?
Yep. There's a couple games on here. The Quarry, which we played on Tarqaron.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed my time with it. I think it just doesn't quite eke out a, a preference over Until Dawn. But I still like a lot of the things the Quarry was doing. I like a lot of the characters and stuff in that. And I just want them to continue making games like that. They're really great. And I like them a lot. Other games, I had only two more. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which was the like episode intermission, the like small like PS5 the Yuffie DLC basically.
Mhm.
Great game. I mean, it's just a short little fun experience. Like maybe like five
Wait,
hours or so.
didn't Rebirth come out?
So Rebirth did come out. I haven't played it yet.
Oh, okay.
So
I
Yeah.
would have expected you to. I
Yeah.
expect.
No, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I didn't do very well on most of my most of trying to catch up. There's no thing I can do. But I have a ticking clock now for Rebirth because I got tickets. My brother got me tickets for Christmas for the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Orchestra concert, just
Mm,
like they did with the Final Fantasy VII Remake Orchestra concert. Well, now they
yeah.
have one for Rebirth, and I have until March 8th to play through that game. So I have a
Jeez.
ticking clock now.
Get on
So,
it. You gotta start on that early if you want to do any of the
uh-huh.
side stuff.
Yeah, that's I'm starting it. I'm probably gonna start it this week.
So,
Um,
oh yeah,
and
go ahead.
then the only other thing that I have on my list is something that I never thought I would have as an honorable mention, but it was the second anniversary event for Goddess of Victory Nikke, which is the gacha game we talked about. I sort of briefly talked about it um on another episode. The I was surprised at how good it was, like the story that it told. Um, because for those of you who don't know, Nikkei is just like it's a waifu gotcha game. Like all the characters are,
Gotcha.
they animate them. They gotcha real good. Um, you know, it's made by the same people who made Stellar Blade, which came out last year, which I also didn't play. That probably would have made my list if I'd played it, almost certainly. But so that tells you like the focus is very much on making very beautiful looking women.
Mhm.
But I was surprised at how good the story was for it. Like legitimate emotional investment in terms of like where the story went in terms of like telling this very like heart-wrenching heart and also heartwarming story
Mhm.
for the event. And yeah, I mean like I wasn't ever imagining that I would shed tears over Nikkei, but other than maybe being upset because I spent so much money and didn't get that skin or something. Um, but which I don't play it enough to warrant that. But yeah, no, I was very impressed by how good that story was. So yeah.
All right. So, for me, Super Mario Party Jamboree came out this year.
Oh,
It
that's
was a lot
right.
of it was a lot of fun, but can I tell you, it was nowhere close to making my top 10. That's how stacked this year was.
Yeah,
It was like my
yeah,
top 20 maybe
yeah.
of just games.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun though. I would love to play some more. It would be cool if we could play multiplayer on that sometime. Get something
Yeah.
together.
Need to pick it up, but that's on the short list of for Switch stuff to pick up. I think
Yeah,
it looks really great.
it's fun. There are a couple games that like they really didn't think through at all though. They're like really dumb mini games, but there's also a feature that I haven't even tried out yet, which sounds cool. Is that like giving you the option to do pro rules, which is
Mm.
essentially like it cuts out the like luck based mini games
Oh,
and
interesting.
cuts down on the luck elements and makes it so like the bonus stars there are going to be these two every time, so
Mm.
going into it it's not like shenanigans on what happens at the end. So that sounds pretty cool to me. But when we played it through initially, I wanted to get that authentic Mario Party experience first. So
Oh yeah.
with all the shenanigans that came with it, like there's a couple that are like, wow, this is a clever design, a clever idea if they just executed a little better. Uh, the mall is a standout level though. It's a great board.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean it's solid Mario Party. Like it really is a return to form from what ever since Mario Party Superstars we've been getting back to it.
Mm.
Also mentioned Resident Evil 4. Played that. Sly
Hmm.
Cooper. Played that for the first
Ooh.
time. That's
And the
really good.
Thievius Raccoonus.
That's the one. That's the one. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2.
Oh, that game is so
It's so
good.
good.
It's
The
so
only thing
good.
that kind of kept it back for me is I kind of mostly played this the year or two before. I'd
Mm.
finished the first Pro Skater on it, and I just didn't
Mhm.
finish the second one. So I just kind of cleaned this one up this year. I didn't spend
Okay.
too much time with it, so I didn't really feel like it should be in this top 10 list for that. But it's super solid. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Only Tony Hawk's Underground 2 gets better than
Mm.
that. So
Here
Yeah.
I am, doing everything I can.
Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars. I played
To
Sea of
my great
Stars.
shame, I haven't played it.
I played that this year. It's amazing. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah.
Again, these like there's so many of these are like direct recommendations for you. You know, it's right up your
Yeah,
alley.
I know this is literally my alley
The
right
Chrono
here. It's
Trigger,
like
yeah,
Chrono
very
Trigger,
much in
Golden
that vein.
Sun. Yeah,
It's a really sweet, heartwarming uh, game, and love the it's the classic turn-based combat, but with like you can time your button press. You just give me a simple time the hits, and I'm in. You know, that's all I need. That's what Paper Mario. I'm sold. That's what I like. But it's fun, charming writing, and really great music, and
mm.
great. It's great. Lastly, for my honorable mentions, this is one that I said last year. I was like, I'm gonna play this. I'm telling you, I'm gonna beat this next year so that I can make it into the top 10 then.
Mm.
And it did not because of how unexpectedly stacked it was. That's Final Fantasy 16.
Oh wow.
So it's like 100 hours I put into that this year to
Yeah.
finish it. Really good, and I thought,
Mm.
based on my list last year, I was like, the surefire thing, it'll make the top 10, and it's like, it was crazy how quickly my ranks filled up with amazing games that like surpassed it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, I really like that game, but it's just like getting lost in the shuffle here. It's not gonna make it. So unfortunately, a little bit
Mm.
of a snub there. I have my minor issues with it, like a little bit repetitive combat, pacing's a little weird, but overall, really like the mix between like Game of Thrones type story mixed with over the top, crazy boss battles and stuff. It's really cool. So there it is. Those are the honorable mentions.
There it
Shout
is.
out
One last shout out, Survivor China.
Survivor
Had to
China.
Survivor
Yeah,
China also. That was my kind of my last little thing, but that's
yeah.
it.
So I'm gonna do at some point, like I did last year, a reality TV ranking
Mm.
that Alec can't watch. I haven't decided if I'm gonna put it on this channel or my own channel though. I'm gonna figure that out. I'm also going to be doing some more end of the year videos on my own channel. I think I'm going to do like putting them all in a tier list for each of the things.
Oh,
Like,
that's fun.
because I've done so many, I watched so many movies, so many games. It'd be fun to just
Mm.
go through them all, be able to talk on all the ones I didn't get to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also if you want to check out, I have all year long I've been tracking my progress on everything media wise I consume. I'm big
Mm.
into this. So if you go on Letterboxd, I track every movie I watch. I do a review for everyone, rate everyone I watch. So if you want to see that, you can check that out. I have a serialized account where I do all my TV shows that I watch, and I have a backlogged account where I do all the games that I've played.
Mm.
And what's made this list process a lot easier for me, even though I've had so many more things this year compared to others, is because year long I've been having lists on each of those platforms with an ongoing ranking as I'm going through the year. So I'm always kind of have it in my mind where the rankings are, and then I just kind of have to iron it out and put them all together in the top 10 here. So
Mm.
it's been a lot of fun, though. Me and my brother use all three of those as well. So I also have good reads for books. I'm trying to read more as well this year. We'll talk more about our goals and stuff in an upcoming podcast.
Yep.
Stuff we
Hopefully,
want to do.
I will. Spoiler alert: I didn't do good on my last year's goals, but hey, maybe next year's goals will
Yeah,
I'll fare a little bit better.
exactly. And I think maybe we'll talk about stuff we're looking forward to in the upcoming year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Blasty Awards where we'll talk about the year on the channel, and then we'll have a tier list of everything we reviewed. We're gonna update it with all the stuff we've reviewed
Mm-hmm.
over the last year as well. So a lot of this fun end of the year stuff, wrapping it up. So thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking it out. It's the long one.
Mm-hmm.
What video should they check out next if they enjoyed this?
Go check out last year's Blasty Awards. Go check them out. Yeah.
Blasty Awards. Okay, check them
Yeah.
out.
You
Check them
get
out.
you a feel for kind of what they're like and what to look forward to this coming year.
Yeah, those whereas the top 10s talking about just purely the media that we've experienced for the first time this year. That's more focused on the videos we recorded and our experiences from those more than
Hmm.
anything. So that's fun. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed, like the video, leave a comment letting us know your thoughts. What's your top 10 stuff of the year? Give it to us.
Yeah.
Movies, TVs, games. And look forward to another great year. Great year of stuff on the horizon to experience and put together another stellar top 10. All right.
All right.
Take care of yourselves, all right?